latest sign we may be headed for a recession, with some economists saying we're already there. Chief economics correspondent Rebecca Jarvis joins us now with to explain what all this means. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning to you, Cecilia. And the latest data from the Commerce Department shows the U.S. economy shrank between April and June, meaning consumer spending slowed, business investment fell, and stores reduced their restocking. Now, these are traditionally signs we could be facing a recession, but try and get this administration to even say the word recession, and you'd be hard-pressed.
Yeah, I wonder why the administration doesn't want to say the word recession, especially when, things like this, and the entire premise, as a matter of fact, that economists have cultivated, or the entire premise that the economy revolves around, is trying to analyze human behavior, trying to quantify or figure out a quantifiable approach to human behavior. And one of those things is that human beings respond to things that you say, and saying the word would probably make people panic. What annoys me is that people are struggling and all they got is, it's not a recession, no one cares, bro. People are struggling when it's not a recession. You know what I mean? People struggling under a capitalist organization of the economy is just a constant factor. It's a consistent reality. You know what I mean? You think people weren't suffering when the market was heating like a motherfucker? You know what I mean? When the line kept going up, when we were in an asset bubble? No, people were still fucking suffering nonstop.
This morning, as debate grows over whether the U.S. is already in a recession or will be, the chairman of the Federal Reserve says we aren't there yet.
I do not think the U.S. is currently in a recession. And the reason is there are just too many areas of the economy that are performing.
There's a couple different ways of getting out of this situation. But my opinion on it, as just as uneducated as every other person, okay? This is an uneducated guess, is that dealing with the supply chain and ensuring that there is more supply to meet the demand, whether it be, consumer goods that are a part of the inflation metric, or even goods that are a necessity for survival, or goods or services that improve your position as a labor force, make you a more productive wage laborer, like college educations, or like I said, goods or services that are necessary for your survival, like healthcare or housing. Unless you, game the system a little bit further and make sure that those subsidies that you afford, or the subsidies that you offer to corporations, capitalist corporations, in an effort to boost productivity or boost the supply, actually is enforced somehow through a regulatory mechanism, these motherfuckers are not going to do shit. There's only two ways out of this. Either you kill a bunch of people because people are fucking dying because they just don't have a job, they don't have any money, they're suffering, they're killing themselves, and then enough of them die, and then there's less demand overall. Enough of them die, and then there's less demand overall, and then the prices have to be fucking pulled down. And also you have a more desperate workforce, so that now they're going to be easily more servile. And they're going to turn around and say, yes, please, sir, I will do this fucking minimum wage job. I will let all the small business owners shit all over me at the Applebee's job. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Or you got to try and make things a little bit cheaper. No more tax breaks, no more subsidies if these companies are not going to follow what is best for the people rather than their own corporate profits. This kind of profit-seeking behavior is the reason why we're in this situation.
Regardless of what it's called, Americans are feeling the pain in their wallets. According to a growing number of economists, including Bank of America and Goldman Sachs, the signs of a recession are forming, with inflation up 9.1%, prices rising on food, shelter, and transportation.
Damn, that's crazy, bro. If only there was a way to deal with that. If only there was a way to deal with shelter, and if only there was a way to deal with transportation, and if only there was a way to deal with food. All three of these are fucking heavily subsidized industries. Either subsidized directly, okay, like agricultural production for food, or transportation also for oil and gas subsidies, but then also on top of that, it's supposed to be something that the government is literally taking care of. But all the government does is take your money and subsidize their fucking corporate profits. It's bananas. You kind of treat what they learn as dogma. Yeah, but the problem with that line of thinking is that at no point do you step away from that and go, wait a minute, we keep getting shit wrong. What the fuck's going on? One of the greatest examples of this is that tight labor markets where unemployment is very, very low, damn near full employment, right, is supposed to create conditions that make it easier for workers to be able to demand higher wages. But we never really had a tight labor market until COVID, when like 1 million fucking workers died. So how do you look at unemployment being record low, hitting record lows year over year over year over year in the United States of America leading up to COVID, and wages are fucking stagnant? Like, how does that happen? That is a direct counter to like one of the basic fucking principles, okay? One of the basic principles. I know public transportation isn't great, but so many people could take it and save while boosting demand for better transport. Here's the Intercept piece that friend of the show, Kent Klippenstein, wrote on a leaked memo. Leaked Bank of America memo. We hope conditions for American workers will get worse. For the record, this is not even a leak. I mean, fucking the only difference between this and like and the average fucking what do you call it? The average textbook, the average econ textbook is that like leftists like to put a face and a name to the actual humans, okay, at the widget factory. If you think about it from a theoretical perspective, as you're learning it in your textbook, you never think about in econ classes, you never learn about like the human beings that are at the widget factory, right? You just think about human beings as an asset. It's just capital stock, a resource. Whereas in the real world, you're the fucking human being. So you recognize it. Like when Powell says, the chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, says his goal ultimately is to depress wages. He's literally talking about human beings. He's talking about how in order to combat inflation, what we must do is depress wages. That in and of itself is still factoring in corporate profits into the equation without ever tackling the concept of corporate profits or profit margins getting smaller and smaller. If your worldview does not revolve around corporate profits taking a hit in any capacity, if that is never a solution, then someone's got to pay. Who's got to pay? The workers. That is the component that is always seen as disposable. Who are the workers? You, motherfucker. You are the workers. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, I went to college. Oh, I'm built differently. Like, you know, my parents are upper middle class. Like, we're going to be fine. It's like, no, your parents are workers too. Most of your parents are. On a press conference on May 4th, Powell announced that the Fed would be raising interest rates by 0.5% and implementing policies aimed at reducing inflation in the United States. The reason why they wanted to do it like this was because Powell said employers are having difficulties filling job openings and wages are rising at the fastest pace in many years. That was Powell's complaint. There are more job vacancies than there are unemployed people in the United States as the economy recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. Powell claimed this discrepancy between job vacancies and unemployment is due to high wages, which discourages workers from taking bad, low-paying jobs with few benefits and therefore give them too much power. Wages are running high, the highest they've run in quite some time. Workers need to be disciplined by the labor market. He said, there's a path by which we would be able to have demand moderate in the labor market and therefore have vacancies come down without unemployment going up because vacancies are such at an extraordinarily high level. There are 1.9 vacancies for every unemployed person, 11.2 million vacancies, and 6 million unemployed people. That is basically saying we got to starve you out. So you shut the fuck up and you go back to work for wages that are ridiculous and take on conditions that are absolutely unattainable, inhumane. It doesn't matter. Definitely not a supply issue. Definitely a people having too much spending power issue. The fuck is wrong with these evil people? Yeah. Even if it is people having too much spending power, there are two components to this. If there's too much demand, if demand is heating up and supply can't keep up with it, why the fuck don't you improve supply? How are you going to not improve supply then? No, it's the demand that we must curb. Here, this is Young Turks' very own Jessica Burbank. I wanted to show from her
They're
as well.
finally doing something about inflation. This is great news. Well, what they're set to do is likely to make this Worse, the Fed's plan is going to increase the amount of people who are unemployed. Why would they do that? Well, the Fed just issued its largest interest rate hike since 1994. Their working theory is that if they increase interest rates, it'll be more expensive to borrow money, so less people will start businesses and invest in businesses. That means there will be less jobs, and when there's less jobs, there's more competition in the labor market. People will take jobs for lower wages. Wages will go down. People will have less money. There will be less spending into the economy, and demand will go down, and then prices will go down. Does that always work? The solution's got to be relevant to the problem. Economists are criticizing the Fed for taking this approach because the problem is prices are high. We need a solution that will bring them back down.
And the only way to bring them back down is by starving out the population so they can't buy fucking food anymore, okay? You're buying too much food. You're buying too much shit. You're buying too much goods, bro. That's the issue, you know? Too many of you motherfuckers have cars. Too many of you motherfuckers have food. No reason. We should not control. We should not try to boost supply, okay? No DPA, no nothing. We just got to cut. We just got to cut it. But who's raising the prices? It's the corporations that are raising the prices, and corporate consolidation makes it very easy to do that through what is known as price leadership, which is, of course, the legal way of saying price fixing, which is totally illegal and very different. Never forget, how many times have I described this? Price fixing happens in a smoke-filled room in a backdoor dealing. Price leadership, on the other hand, especially in a hyper consolidated market like all of our fucking commodities, is totally cool, totally legal, totally valid, totally chill. Remember that.
So then why does the Fed think it will work? They don't. What? They don't. Jerome Powell admitted that on the floor of Congress.
Chair Powell, will gas prices go down as a result of your interest rate increase?
I would not think so, no.
Okay. Chair Powell, will the Fed's interest rate increases bring food prices?
Yeah, that's why Dark Brandon handled it, dude. Stole the orb, brought the fucking gas prices down forcibly. Supply issues are a scapegoat. Supply chain disruptions are already taken into account as best as possible. Companies have what we call purchasing managers. Companies are just taken away by raising prices. No. Real supply issues occurred during COVID. The problem is that's when, for example, auto dealerships realized, and even car manufacturers realize, oh, fuck, we can actually just increase prices. We can literally just increase prices and people will pay for it. Now, that is a normal market condition because value is not assigned by how much labor value is put into it. Value to a certain particular thing in our capitalist dogmatic way of thinking is assigned by what you are willing to pay for a particular product. It's made up ultimately. So if people are desperate to purchase your food because, you'll die without food, then obviously when they realize, oh man, we can actually raise the prices of food and people will still buy it, even if we don't actually increase supply, that's how you arrive at this level of, that's how you arrive at this kind of inflation.
Inflation is a measure of price changes over time. So to get these prices back down, we've got to know why they were set higher. Do we know what caused the price increases? Listen, there's a lot going on. The COVID pandemic, supply chain breakdowns, shortages from sanctions and war, all of those things can add to the cost of getting goods and services to market. But corporations are seeing record profits, which means that they set prices higher than to just account for the additional production and transportation costs. They set prices higher to make money.
How is it that people are not recognizing corporate profits are still pretty fucking solid? Not only that, but like OPEC is a great example of this because it's directly a cartel, right? So you kind of see it because they set the price. They set the price for a barrel of oil by completely controlling supply. That is not a market condition, okay? But corporate consolidation in America has rendered every single fucking industry, every single sector to operate exactly like OPEC. Maybe they don't get into a fucking dealing in a like I said, smoke filled room, but they are doing that together collectively, and it's much easier to do that when there's no real fucking competition. Stop asking why don't they have these problems in China, man? Why do you think they don't have these problems in China? Why do you think? Because that's a fucking government that does what government is theoretically supposed to do. But we have conditioned ourselves to believing like the only people that do that are communists, okay? If a government is supposed to do what a government is supposed to do, sometimes executing billionaires if they're fucking, stepping out of line, for example, and many more things, then, that's communism. maybe not the corporate executive execution thing, but like, some kind of price control and some kind of regulatory mechanism upon the free enterprise is completely unjustifiable, and that's communist. That's communism. You're doing communism. It's like, no, motherfucker, that's not communism. That's just like what governments are supposed to do. What the fuck is a government then? Is it just a funnel to take your money in the form of taxes and then give it directly to fucking corporations? Is that what the government's supposed to do? Because that's what it does. American government is just like fucking 8 corporations and a human in a government suit. They're just hanging out. They're like, oh no, we're a government. Don't look inside the trench coat. Okay? Do not look inside the trench coat. It's not 8 corporations inside the trench coat. No matter what you do. Okay? We are a government. We're different.
You know how CEOs are on Wall Street. They live quarter by quarter. If they're off by a penny in earnings, Wall Street is not forgiven. So what are the CEOs doing? They're raising prices. I see food prices going up. Promotions are down to 0. Why give away something when you don't have to give it away and you make more margin?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, that's it. When I say it, I'm a fucking conspiracy theorist, disgusting commie, okay? When he says it on CNBC, that's like, oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for describing how that works, actually. No, and that's totally valid. It's an in-group, out-group thing, okay? If you are a capitalist pig dog, okay, and you're fucking clapping ass cheeks, then when you say that, that is adequate. That's appropriate. That's cool. When you're outside of that club and you're saying that exact same thing, they're like, you're a conspiracy theorist. Shut the fuck up. No one would do that. I mean, yeah, we already mentioned this, but like this is punishing you, okay? Chevron, Exxon posting record quarterly profits as commodity prices boom. That is to punish you for the crime of not guzzling enough fucking oil during the COVID pandemic. You understand? That's it. That's what this is. This is literally to make up for all of their lost earnings because the governments didn't give them enough money. Governments gave them money on the hopes that they wouldn't fire people. They still fired people. They took the money, but now they have to punish you because, hey, last year we didn't make as much money. I'll fucking kill you if I have to. You understand? Get fucked. The argument is that it should be a complete free market for all goods, but inelastic goods like food and gas, while raising prices have no effect on demand, should be regulated. In fact, we already have laws to prevent this type of price gouging during disasters. Yes, but dude bikes, like we already talked about, this is not considered price gouging, my friend. Price gouging is when some fucking random wantrepreneur dickhead decides to increase the prices of a particular good that they're selling during a natural disaster. If that natural disaster is happening at a time when the entire economy is fucking tanking, then that's not considered price gouging. You understand? That's just the free market. That's just the free market working as intended. When you have an inelastic good, when you have a good that has inelastic demand, for example, like the pharmaceutical industry in its entirety, because without medicine, you'll die. Okay? So that means it's an inelastic demand good. It's not considered price gouging when the price of EpiPen goes up because you're Joe Manchin's daughter and that's what you're going to fucking do. And also schools are going to have to buy that EpiPen regardless because they don't want kids to fucking die when there is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches being served at school. That's how this works. And that's precisely why so many of these kinds of goods are actually heavily regulated in its pricing. One way to do that from the most capitalist perspective is by price bargaining. When you buy in bulk, if you have socialized medicine in your civilized country, okay, even if you're in the third world, even if you're a developing nation, you're still a civilized country that cares about its citizens. Otherwise, they will fucking revolt and kill you, right? So what do? When you're buying medicine in bulk, you negotiate prices, and you negotiate them all the way down to manageable levels. That's why you can buy over-the-counter fucking in Turkey. If you go to any pharmacy in Turkey, you can buy the same shit in America that's being sold for $1,000 for fucking 3 liras, right? Why? Because they're buying it in bulk and they're driving the prices down. These pharmaceutical corporations understand that it's totally fine. That you know, those people are not willing to pay more for it, so we can't charge them more. You know what country doesn't allow pharmaceutical price bargaining to occur? And literally had it illegal until the last part of the Obama administration, at least for the Veterans Affairs Office? The United States of America. I already gave the game away. In the United States of America, pharmaceutical price negotiations was literally illegal until like fucking 2016 across the board. But one of the only socialized components, one of the only socialized medicine, socialized healthcare components that exists in this fucking hellscape was the VA. VA, as a consequence of constantly skyrocketing medical prices and a gigantic pool of people who are desperate for medical care, with a pool that is ever growing, considering America's wars are never going to end. So there's always new fucking veterans that need PTSD care and health care because they're getting their shit blown off, okay? Needed a way to lower prices. So they finally said, let's lower prices by allowing the VA to negotiate. This was quite a controversial bill at the time. It was quite the controversial provision. Right now, as we speak, there is another one down the line. One of the things that the Biden administration is trying to do currently is implement price negotiations for Medicaid. They're trying to do that right now. And that's very frustrating for a lot of corporate lobbyists. A lot of corporate lobbyists look to that and say, nah, fuck that. I work for Johnson & Johnson, baby. And my senator also works for Johnson & Johnson, too. How does he work for Johnson & Johnson? Maybe because his wife or his daughter works for J&J directly. How does he work for Johnson & Johnson? Because J&J is going to give you dark money, okay, through a super PAC. So you can get fucking reelected, even though you're a criminal like Bob Menendez. This is how the system works. It is fundamentally broken top to bottom. The government should also be able to manufacture generic medications, especially medically requisite ones, and then sell them off for free or at a loss, especially medically requisite ones, and sell them. Negotiating drug prices shouldn't be the bottom line we fight for. Oh, brother, I am full blown in favor of nationalized healthcare, top to bottom, start to finish. You're speaking my language right now. I am full blown. Call me fucking Kim Il-sung, baby. Or call me Mao Zedong when it comes to fucking healthcare. I don't give a fuck, dude. I mean, across the board, dude. That is bananas that that's not the case currently. Nationalize our extraction industries like they did in Norway. Nationalize the healthcare industry across the board. Immediately offer public housing. It's ridiculous. Beef up public transit, so that we don't have such a gigantic over-reliance on fucking Chevron and Exxon for survival. I mean, the things that I'm mentioning are just so... They're the first step towards a more meaningful life. And that's what's fucked up. Like, what I'm mentioning is not that crazy. It's only crazy if you have been bullied into believing that these sorts of things are not things that the government should be offering you.
I'm sick of it. Gas prices are too high. And one of you's causing it. We're gonna get to the bottom of it in this meeting. Russia. Hello. Hi. Yes. You invaded Ukraine, which caused many countries to sanction you and reduce the global supply of oil available to the United States. However, gas prices started to climb before the invasion. Supply chain. Yeah, it was all messed up. Even still, we should have been able to get domestic supply up by now. Oil and gas companies have over 9,000 permits to drill on federal land that are not being used. Hey. If we build new rigs and drill new wells, that's going to cut into our profits and reduce returns next quarter. Would you like to share with the group? Reports show oil companies are seeing record profits.
By the way, this is not even a fucking joke. I've shown you multiple times. How many times have I shown you fucking oil and gas executives unironically going again on CNBC and saying, well, we're not going to actually increase supply. Why the fuck would we? Because that would cut into our profit margins. Right now, things are going fucking great. We have no responsibility to the consumer or the public to actually lower our own profit margins. They openly state it, and then they can just go and live a life, okay? That's the crazy part, for me at least. I look at that, and I see a fucking oil and gas executive, okay? An industry that takes 85% of the fucking government subsidies for energy production. I see that, and I see a fucking literal CEO go on television and say, oh, do you want me to fucking lower my own profit margin? What are you, crazy? Our primary responsibilities are shareholders. And then he gets to live. He gets to fucking breathe air tomorrow. He walks out of that fucking television studio and gets into a limousine and goes and lives in his fucking luxury high rise. That's insane. That blows my fucking mind. What is the government doing? Why does he get to breathe free air like a free man after saying that? Because capitalism and how capitalism operates creates villains like that and then turns around and makes you think that that guy's not a fucking villain. I'm not saying he should be shot. I didn't say that. I said he should go to fucking jail.
If prices were raised to make up for the additional cost of supply decreases and supply chain issues, you would be seeing the same profit margins, but because you're seeing record profits, this would suggest you increased prices for more than to just make up for that difference.
Yes, they did. They did increase the fucking prices because people are desperate for oil and gas. It doesn't work without oil and gas. That's how our fucking entire economy has been built. And for that reason, they could do whatever the fuck they want, increase prices to this degree. Our car-reliant infrastructure is always going to need more oil and gas. And they did this because they wanted to make up for their lost profits from previous quarters. Yes, you don't want those, so stop asking for more supply. Fuck these people. Brother, that doesn't mean anything. Just because I want to fucking move away from it doesn't change the reality that right now I'm living in the here and now. There is no alternative. People aren't going, oh man, these oil and gas giants are fucking us. Maybe we should move over to renewable energy. That's not happening. Bleak Bank of America memo. We hope conditions for American workers will get worse. The memo, a mid-year review from June 17, was written by Ethan Harris, the head of global economics research for the corporation's investment bank arm, Bank of America Securities. It's a specific aspiration. By the end of next year, we hope the ratio of job openings to unemployed is down to more normal highs of the last business cycle. Let me tell you another truth. At the heart of this kind of sentiment, this anti-worker sentiment, is also the exact same reason why labor unions have been fucking eviscerated. The more disposable workers are, the closer they are to a number, the easier it is to just fucking depress wages. Okay, the easier it is to bully you. The easier it is to make sure that like you can't take time off because your dog is dying and you want to take him to the fucking vet. But sorry, it's actually the weekend rush, so you have to work in your service sector job. If you don't do that, then next week we're going to cut your hours down to 0. Your bosses and your managers can only get away with doing shit like that if you don't have any fucking protection. And the only way that you can get protection in the capitalist organization of the economy is by engaging in collective action, collective bargaining. The only way to do that right now is through unionizing. You wouldn't need a fucking globally eviscerating mass pandemic to be able to finally arrive at like a genuine shortage for low pay, like for people willing to take on low pay jobs in shit conditions. You understand? Having labor unions, or at the very least, labor unions that have already negotiated for the entire sector in collective bargaining agreements for entire sectors like they do in France, means every day is like a fucking COVID pandemic induced tight labor market. A better future is possible, even under a capitalist mode of production. What the memo calls the ratio of job openings to unemployed is generally calculated the other way around, i.e. the ratio of unemployed people to job openings. The more widely used ratio offers one measurement of the balance of power between workers and employers. The lower this number, the more options unemployed people have when searching for work and greater opportunities employed people have to switch to jobs with better paying conditions. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this ratio stood at 0.5 as of May, meaning that there were then 2 job openings per unemployed person. This recent unusual moment of worker leverage made Bank of America quite anxious. The memo expresses distress about a record tight labor market. Bro, this is just labor power. Make no mistake. What these people are openly stating is, holy shit, workers have more power. Like, and we need to keep profits the same because you can't cut into your profit margins. Remember, you can't ever cut into your profit margins. Profits have to stay the same. So when workers are asking for more, a larger cut of the profits, they freak the fuck out. This is, as Cinemarxism with a good take, once again, anarchists can have good takes on this issue. This is class war. Billionaires and millionaires express class solidarity regularly. They have incredible amounts of class consciousness, and they engage in class war every fucking day. And they can do it openly, like this. But because of the way you learn micro and macroeconomic principles, that's not considered class warfare. Class warfare is only when the proletariat fights back against the conditions that they have been subjected to. The memo recalls a previous Bank of America memo in 2021, which says warned of very strong momentum in the labor market, suggesting the economy would not just hit but blow through full employment. Fast forward to today, these trends have been worse than expected. memo is an uncanny demonstration that economist Adam Smith was right when he described the politics of inflation in his famed 1776 work, Wealth of Nations. High profits tend much more to raise the price of work than high wages, Smith argued. Our merchants and master manufacturers complain much of the... Bro, this fucking Adam Smith guy, bro. I mean, this... Actually, not fuck the Adam Smith guy. This Karl Marx guy, he was a fucking plagiarist, brother. I mean, straight up. So aggressively stole from this dude. Meanwhile, you only hear about some of the things that Adam Smith mentioned and not all the other things that Adam Smith actually mentioned in your school when you're learning about Adam Smith. I wonder why. Adam Smith's take on landlords, for example, are not heavily featured in fucking econ classes. I would like history of economics. It's just weird. I don't know. Our merchants and master manufacturers complain much of the bad effects of high wages and the raising price. They say nothing concerning the bad effects of high profits. They are silent with regards to the pernicious effects of their own gains. They complain only those of other people. It's almost like there is an antagonism amongst these two classes that Adam is mentioning. If I were to say, the profit seeker capital owners, like business owners, versus the actual people that provide the value, i.e. the laborers. That's is there like a direct antagonism there? Is that what he's saying? Interesting. Much to consider. Thus, exactly as Smith would have predicted, Bank of America complains loudly about the bad effects of high wages and raising prices, but appears to be silent about the pernicious effects of high profits. You would never, in a million fucking years, hear an economist say these profit margins are too fucking high. Corporate profits are sky high. We got to fucking deal with this. The economy is heating up. We have to do something about this. These motherfuckers are going crazy with their pricing. You will never hear that. Here, what is Yanis Varoufakis saying?
We have a moral and political duty to empower ourselves and our children to speak authoritatively about the economy. And the reason for that is that in the world we live, the economy penetrates every dimension of life. It would be a tragedy for democracy. Plato will have won his greatest victory, crushing the fragile flower of democracy, if we all are convinced by the establishment, by the powers that be, by the economics profession, by finance ministers and so on, by the International Monetary Fund, by the Federal Reserve, that we better leave the matters of the economy to the experts, to the economists. See, I have no problem with experts. I'm not a climate change denier. I love science. I believe that if we need to build a bridge, we need experts to build it. It would be stupid to build it democratically.
My man, dude, I love that. I too hate democracy. On God, that's not even a joke. I do. I 100% agree with this funny voice man and the other funny voice man, Zizek, when he talks about when he's preaching that anti-anarchist truth. Oh my God, I get so hard thinking about that. Sorry, let's continue.
View as to how, what to do to build a bridge. The bridge will collapse and we are going to be responsible for many, many deaths. But the economy is not like civil engineering projects. The economy is society. It's you and me. It is everything. Nature doesn't give a damn about our predictions, but society is our predictions. Because society is what you and I do. And what you and I do depends on what you and I believe. So if we believe something, and suddenly we change what our belief, that belief, the change in belief, feeds into a different social and economic outcome. So the phenomenon that we're studying as economists is intertwined, inextricably linked to our own theories about it. So economics is part of the phenomenon it tries to explain. So we like, a cat chasing its own tail. That's why it can never be a science.
True. There's no world in which you're like, yo, man, a recession is about to happen, and then everybody starts saying a recession is about to happen, and then you can literally trigger a recession by getting people to fucking decrease confidence in the market. That's ridiculous. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, exactly. And by the way, this is not a fucking hidden truth. Like, this is something that, like, literally econ professors will describe to you. The Daily had an unironic entire fucking article about it yesterday or the day before yesterday, where they were talking about the self-fulfilling prophecy of inflation. So it's just like, it's ridiculous. But more importantly than that, it's it's additionally ridiculous to try and analyze or try to quantify as best as you can the way that human beings operate when there is an entire fucking industry, like a multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to changing human behavior, which is called marketing. Like, that's just wild. You're like, oh man, we have on the one hand a multi-billion-dollar industry, okay, that straight up makes you fucking purchase shit that you don't even need and makes you not behave like a rational actor. And we're over here still being like, no, it's like the market is controlled by rational actors that are buying and the supply demand is totally fucking working. And if only the markets were freer,